Hey everyone, Eric Nelson here once again, and thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. For today, I will be doing a book review on Ira Stoll's JFK Conservative. Now, to all of the hardcore liberals and hardcore conservatives who maybe I would say live in a bubble, and what I mean by that is where you live in your own world, where you either see all Democrats as heroes and all Republicans as heroes. The title JFK Conservative may seem as an oxymoron or as a double standard or as basically a fantasy book. Well, actually, it's not. It's actually, well, I wouldn't say it's all factual because not everybody is right, and you can look up all the history that you want, and but you can still be wrong because history is written by, of course, us people, and can people be wrong or inaccurate at times? Absolutely. So aside from its questionable material, which is very little, at least in my opinion, it's actually pretty much full of facts. Not as I said before, not 100%, but it does have a lot of facts, and those facts actually point to the actual title, JFK Conservative, meaning that on the most part, he was a conservative. If not, he was actually a hardcore conservative, a right-wing extremist, and I think he proved that he was in his inauguration speech, where he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," meaning he didn't support the nanny state. I mean, where we get, like welfare and unemployment checks, which I think is good for a little while, but you should be able to find a job sooner or later, and you have to do what is best for your country rather than just waiting for handouts. But that's another argument. I mean, that has to be debated. But basically in his inaugural address, he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you." He wanted us, the people, to be vigilant and wanted to do things for our country, not just wait for our country to do things for us. And of course, Ira Stoll covers many facts, like the economic policies that he had in set. Even though he was only president for only under 3 years, at least 1,000 days, he actually cut a lot of taxes. And he was also a proud NRA member. See, the liberal hero, which is John F. Kennedy, the president where a lot of hardcore liberals have unconditional love for, was an NRA member, and a very proud one. I mean, people say that he supported gun control. Well, here's the thing. Gun control was not a hot issue at the time. It was talked about, but it wasn't an issue as it is now. But, of course, like back then, since it wasn't a real hot issue, they didn't really talk about it that much. But still, he was a proud NRA member. And he was pro-life. Yes, it was before Roe v. Wade, and before abortion. I mean, I'm not really sure if abortion was even performed. Well, I'm sure it was, but not as a popular thing. But he was actually very pro-life. I mean, as we all know, Jackie Kennedy had at least two miscarriages where where both he and Jackie Kennedy suffered, you know, as all parents would, they suffered very bad over that. So, he was very pro-life, and basically Ira Stoll just goes through all the other all of the other decisions that he made, especially with like foreign policy, which you can argue about whether it was a conservative view or a liberal view. But one and all, if you go back to the founding fathers, he was pretty much in line with them. So whether you are a Democrat or a Republican or a far left or a far right, I think you should read this. I mean, of course, you're either going to get surprised at what you read, or you'll get extremely angry and say, no, that's a lie, that's a lie. Well, why don't you just, after you're done reading it, if you want to read it, look up the facts, and as to where you would look them up, as to where you would compare the two. Well, just take a look at what John F. Kennedy really did for this country. And of course, LBJ, right after Kennedy was assassinated, he said, "Let us continue his legacy." Well, not really. Maybe by a few things, but still, Kennedy and Johnson were two very different people. JFK was a conservative. Johnson was a liberal. Very liberal. Isn't that something? A liberal from Texas, huh? And a conservative from Massachusetts. But anyway, a really great book. Has a lot of facts and debatable material, but hey, I think it's a great book, just to, not just to wake people up, but to also to make people realize that just because you have the word a Democrat or Republican attached to your name, it doesn't mean that you're a conservative or a liberal. So I hope you guys get this book if you want to learn a little bit about history, and I hope to see you all at the bookstore or the iBookstore.